we've been hearing a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to leave the Bucks? Is he requesting the trade? Well, Milwaukee came out and said, nay, we are not moving Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think they're BSing, though. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And whenever we hear there are trade talks about a specific player and they last for maybe longer than a couple weeks, then we know there might be some changes afoot.
So the league is generally operating as Giannis is not going to ask out until he asks out. And so don't get me wrong, there teams like the New York Knicks, they are full court pressing for Giannis. It's going to be interesting. The talk among NBA circles was that we might come out of the weekend with some news that he would ask out. Now, that didn't happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this, because if it's going to happen, you would think that teams that are going to want to do it are going to, not only just the other teams, the Bucks themselves are going to want to do it before the draft. If they're going to do a deal with like a team particularly like San Antonio, who has the number 2 overall pick. Now, it doesn't mean they can't, have those discussions afterwards. Obviously, we saw that with the Cavaliers and the Timberwolves. Wiggins is drafted, and then, they have to wait and then trade Wiggins for Love to Cleveland, that kind of situation.
What I don't even know, what would the trade market for a guy like Giannis even be?
I mean, every team would call.
You saw what Dame went for, which was a whole lot as far as like draft capital and everything. So you're talking about a 2-time MVP. One of those MVP years was Defensive Player of the Year, and then an NBA champion with the Finals MVP. And this is all within the last 5 years or so. What is the market for a dude like Giannis? Like, we're seeing what the NBA is giving up, what teams are giving up for guys like Cat, for guys like, again, Dame and some others. Mikal Bridges. Giannis, Luka, right? We saw they gave up Anthony Davis and then some, to be able to get him. What should teams expect to give up for somebody like Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Everything that's not nailed down. And even some things you think are nailed down.
Yeah.
Like, I know,
is it even worth it at that point? And that's my thing. Like, if I'm going to give away all my assets, I'm thinking about Carmelo Anthony. Let's go back to Denver and Carmelo.
In a world where he could have just waited until the offseason.
Which he was perfectly fine with doing. And it was New York that panicked and pushed the button and said, man, let's do this right now. And let's trade all of our assets.
A little bit of both, because Melo, knowing that if he got the trade, the bird rights would go with him, and so he could get the most money.
Right.
Where had he just waited, had everybody had cooler heads and just waited, they would have had Gallo and Chandler and a whole bunch of supporting pieces. Even if those guys don't stay, now you can trade those pieces for somebody else.
And if they're already, and that was my thing about Melo, and this is kind of my thing about Giannis, like, if we know he's interested in a team, wait and go there when you're able to go there.
That's the problem, is that, these guys want to lock in these longer term deals. Dame did the same thing. And I don't begrudge them. But, and here's my flip side counter argument to this. You can't have both. You either need to lock in long-term money, or you need to face the fear and go to free agency. It is why I've never, ever, ever been mad at LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus served out his contract. He went to free agency, and he earned the opportunity to go to free agency.
I'm going to say I wasn't mad at LaMarcus.
I wasn't mad at him, because he could have extended and then asked for a trade.
I think the reason people were mad at LaMarcus wasn't because he left. I think we all understood that at that time, going to San Antonio was a smarter idea. Mm-hmm. You were closer to a championship. You were going to play with Pop.
And it was closer to home.
Yeah, closer to home. You're going to play with Tim Duncan. All those things make sense. Mm-hmm. What you don't do which is why I think a lot of people, including me, were kind of mad at Dame for a long time. Like, don't tell us that you're staying here and then up and leave. Like, I think that was
the
a big
LaMarcus
thing.
one was a little bit forced.
Yeah,
the front office was kind of egging him into saying, "I want to be a Blazer for life."
Yeah.
And I
don't say that, bro, because there are people
it's better to not say it.
Yeah, there are people that are going to hold you to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hold you to your word. If you're going to say that I'm not going to, which is why for Dame, for a lot of folks, I know that's your man, but for a lot of folks, it was like, what happened to not running from the grind?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to staying here? What happened to do all these things? What happened to not going to join other people and helping them win a ring in their city? And like all that was kind of out the window.
And he'll tell you, like,
bit.
Having done it, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
No, for sure. And I'll mind you, I know we're off topic. I was really mad at Dame when he left. Not because he didn't deserve an opportunity to leave, but like, again, you can't say certain stuff and then expect people not to hold you to that. But nobody wants to see him get hurt. Nobody wants to it sucked to watch him go over there and kind of struggle with a great team in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like, nobody thought that it would be like that. And so to watch him kind of go out like that and go out with the injury. Like you never want to see that happen to, especially to a guy like Dame. But I think I've gotten over obviously him being gone. We got our new team, we got new guys in place. But at the time, I thought that was real important. So just I guess you got to being a person of your word only takes you so far, because teams aren't necessarily people of their word, and they'll trade somebody real quick.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like the loyalty is a two-way street kind of situation. And I think both the Blazers front office and Dame knew that it needed to happen, but it kind of was what it was at that point.
Well, it sucks to see Dame go out like that. You hope that he comes back. You're hoping he's able to make a full recovery. We see that he's working. He's really out there grinding, trying to get himself back into shape.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day. I was kind of messing with him, like, hey, has that leg turned into a toothpick yet, being stuck in that boot? And he goes, nah, man. He goes, I was cleared for PT 10 days after surgery.
Oh, yeah, I saw he's on the treadmill and doing some stuff. Like,
he's working out with Sam down in Tigard, his boxing coach and trainer. I would imagine, like, let's say Dame is part of a transaction to another team as part of a Giannis deal as the Bucks reset. Wouldn't shock me one bit if Dame ended up staying here and rehabbing.
No, I mean,
no matter what team he's a part of, I think he's going to be here rehabbing.
He's incredibly welcome here in Portland. He is a Portlander. That's just kind of what it is.